This is DRF Race of the Day. Hi, everybody. Dan Illman and Mike Beer, the DRF Race of the Day for Wednesday, January the 27th, kicks off the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6 at Gulfstream Park. Let's throw up the field for race number 5. This is a maiden claimer going 1 mile on the turf for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. You can download free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Access them and handicap along with us. The 6 Raspberry Ballet is entered main track only, and I think this is a pretty competitive group, Mike.
Yeah, I do too, Dan. I mean, we'll see what happens. I personally had a pretty tough time really falling for anybody in this race. I think it'll be interesting not only to see, how it all plays out. It'll be interesting to see who gets bet in here.
Well, let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector because the 9 Cat Lady should be forwardly placed. I do think that the 1 Sega Kentucket, coming off a little bit of a layoff off the Danny Gargan claim, this filly has some speed, and I would use it from the inside post.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think she will be forward. I won't be surprised when Cat Lady shows speed again. She showed speed last time and ran pretty well, I guess, but I think the 1's probably going to be forward in this race.
Sega Kentucket, as I mentioned, claimed by Danny Gargan, who's having an unbelievable Gulfstream meet. But it's not like Gargan claimed this horse off some nobody. He claimed this horse off of Brad Cox, who failed to get this one to the winner's circle after 9 starts. Here's the most recent effort back on November the 22nd at Aqueduct. And this horse sat off of a pretty solid pace, Mike. You see her making her bid right now, passing the tired leader. She'll briefly have the lead, and then she gets tired in the lane. All in all, a solid effort in a race that produced a couple of next out winners.
I mean, she ran fine in here. Didn't really have any excuses. It feels like you were alluding to there. Just not as good as the horse that won it, who got a great trip. That's a Danny Gargan trained horse as well that won it. Got, right through on the inside and won easily. This horse ran fine in there, Dan. I thought, this is a horse that ran a lot last summer in Saratoga or in New York. I got to say, I wasn't a big fan of hers when Brad Cox had her, but she ran fine, and she ran several races that are going to make her very tough in this race. And I will just say, I realized that Gargan took this horse off of Brad Cox, but it's the race of the day. Look up Danny Gargan off the claim with turf horses, with turf routers, and with turf horses at Gulfstream Park. They are all gigantic numbers.
No, and I was going to mention that, and also look up off the claim when he gives him a little bit of a break. It just seems to wake these horses up. He gets to know them. This horse, again, has good tactical speed. The horse that won the last race came right back to win with an 81 buyer. This horse fits this condition like a glove. The 2 is So Elusive, who's dropping into a maiden claimer for the first time, stretching back out off a 6-furlong turf race at Woodbine. This filly does not have much speed, and she is going to be at the mercy of race and pace luck. I guess she was in against an okay field last time out. The 3rd place finisher came back in her next 3 starts to finish second twice and then won a maiden special on the turf with a 79 buyer at Woodbine.
Yeah, we'll see what she can do in here. The layoff, I think, is a little bit of a concern. We'll see how she runs off of that. All in all, Dan, I thought she was very interested in this race. She goes for a very good trainer. Her 2 turf races, to me, I didn't think she ran poorly at all. And as you mentioned, she doesn't have a lot of speed. She feels like, to me, like a horse who may not want to sprint all that much, Dan. In her debut, didn't break great. They never really asked her for all that much in that race, and she was just sort of racing on. Last time, wide all the way around the track. I thought she did well just to get 4th in that race. I think this is a dangerous horse in this race at a price.
20-1 on the morning line, and you get a fantastic turf rider in Junior Alvarado. Baseline Drive is the number 3 going out for trainer Chad Brown. This horse hasn't raced since November at Aqueduct. This is going to be probably the cheapest she's ever been in against. Maybe that 1 3/8 was just a little bit far for her last time out. I really couldn't find the excuse. I thought she was sitting in a good trip in the second flight. She had a chance turning for home. Maybe those maiden specials in the distance, that combination was a little bit too tough for her. At a relatively short price, I don't love her, but she fits from a speed figure standpoint.
Yeah, I think we look at her the same way. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm way against this horse in this race. I feel like she's probably a pretty good fit in here. And if nothing else, Chad's probably just running her in the right race now. I think a little shorter could be better for her. That second career start at Saratoga when he ran her for 75, she ran fine that day in a race that got wired.
Zoology, the number 4, has a lot of upside potential. She's only started twice and only once on the turf. And that was her most recent effort where she finished behind a couple of these. She was very keyed up out of the gate and she pulled hard while sitting in the pocket behind the pace. And when the pace setter tried to separate on the turn, she just couldn't keep up. I think she can do a little bit better in this spot. I prefer sort of underneath in single race exotics.
I think I probably do too. Overall, the horses, there were 3 of them out of that last race there on December 11th. I don't know if I want any of them. If I was going to take one, maybe it would be Zoology, though, just because, as you said, she looked like a little bit hard to handle early in that race, and then she got tired at the end.
A Looker, the number 5, finished ahead of Zoology in that spot. It was her first start off about a 2-month layoff, and she sort of hung back near the tail end of the field while saving ground every step. And as the pace slowly began to fall apart at the end, she picked up some horses. It was nice to see her competitive at this level. I think this might be a little bit of a tougher race overall.
I think it's a tougher race for the level as well. But listen, at least she showed some signs of life in there. To me, it was the fastest race she's ever run and clearly the best race she's ever run. I mean, she never looked like she was going to win, but she was pretty game in there, kept gaining ground to the end.
Raspberry Ballet is entered main track only, so we'll move to the 7, Pat Pat Pat, who in many ways is the key to this race because we have not seen her since August of 2019. It's a long layoff to be sure, but it's also first-time Todd Pletcher, who wins with horses off all kinds of layoffs. This is an intriguing mare because I thought her career debut at Saratoga way back in 2019 for a very low-profile barn was actually pretty good, just sort of an in-out trip. She was second best at a big price. It was a race that produced a couple of next-out winners, and she was privately purchased out of that race. Her second race at Saratoga wasn't as good, but again, it was your typical live Saratoga race that produced a couple of next out starters.
Right. That's the things, that sort of pointed to her is that even though she hasn't been, that competitive, she has run in 2 good fields. The debut at Saratoga, as you mentioned, some next out winners in there. Also, the horse that won that race, the Chad Brown Klarovich horse, 2 starts later, won a graded stakes race. The last race, the last time we saw her, she didn't really run well at all in that race. That was Travers Day. I guess it was kind of a loaded race. It also had a pretty fast pace. I don't know, Dan. I respect Pletcher off of layoffs. It feels like he's probably bringing her back in the right kind of a spot here. I guess I'll wait and see what kind of price she goes off that. I don't think I would want to bet her at a short price.
Chad Brown's other runner in the race is up next. That's the number 8, Reciprocal, who made her debut in a loaded race in 2019 and then went to the sidelines for a very long time. So she already had the built-in excuse for her race on New Year's Eve. She sort of had a trip, just an in-out trip. Got tired, understandably so. The drop in class, second off the layoff. There are angles here for this filly.
There are. I wouldn't be too hard on her for the last one. I didn't really see her do any running, and I thought overall she got a pretty good trip in there, but she could obviously do better than that.
Cat Lady, the number 9, has been a money burner for most of her career. Heck, in her last 5 starts, she's been 2-1 or less, and she has lost each and every time. She's been with some solid trainers, Todd Pletcher, Michael Maker. Now she's with Fausto Gutierrez. Here is the first start with Gutierrez, and Cat Lady finished ahead of a Looker in this race, finished ahead of Zoology, went to the front, and I liked what Jaramillo did in this race. Tried to really take it to the field on the turn. Couldn't get away from this odds-on favorite Makasupa, however, who ran her down. It was a good effort for Cat Lady, and I guess she'll be a much better price than she usually is, plus her tactical speed gives her somewhat of an advantage.
Yeah, maybe that's an angle. At least at this time, if you're going to try and bet her one more time, you'll get her at a little bit of a better price. I couldn't take her off of anything she's done so far, Dan. And in that last race, I mean, maybe the horse that ran her down, she was 4-5. Maybe she's pretty good, but I doubt she's better than some of the horses in this field. And Cat Lady got a great trip in there. Loose on the lead, couldn't hold.
Galway City is up next, and maybe Galway City fits at this level. Her one and only turf start came in a maiden special weight at Gulfstream West, a race where the third-place finisher returned to win with a solid 76 buyer. She had some pace to run at. They went very fast in the first quarter mile, and she was only able to pick up a couple of tired horses in the stretch. I think she has some upside. I think she'll make a little bit of a late run, but she needs things to go her way.
She does. Listen, she's going to be a price in this race, and she's very lightly raced. So obviously, you could hold out hope that she'll do better, and she's going to have to do better.
Awesome Ella wasn't able to make hay at Gulfstream Park during their weaker summer meeting. She ran a couple of okay races against Florida-bred maiden specialweights. I was kind of surprised that Hess took her to Southern California, and she ran one good race at Santa Anita going long. And I wonder if maybe that's it. She needs a little bit more distance than this.
Yeah, and she doesn't have any speed at all, which is something I don't like about her. At least they're doing the right thing and dropping her here, Dan. This is a filly that needs a class drop.
Let's take a look at our top picks to kick off the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6 at Gulfstream on Wednesday. As you mentioned, Mike, in the open, it's hard to love anybody in this race. I went with Pat simply because she's the stranger and simply because it's Pletcher at Gulfstream. If she goes off at anywhere close to her 3-1 morning line, I probably don't want her, but I won't be surprised at all if she comes running. I went 7-3-1-9. You're going with the hot hand, Danny Gargan.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of just defaulted to this horse because I didn't like anyone else. Then I fully expect her to be the favorite in here. I don't see why she wouldn't be, but her good race is supposed to make her tough. The horse that I'm going to try to get in there is the 2. I think So Elusive is interesting. The layoff concerns me, but I like this horse stretching out. I think she can do better in a race like this, and I actually like her 2 turf races.
1, 2, 3, and 7 for Mike, 7-3-1-9 for me. It's the Wednesday DRF race of the day. It's race number 5 at Gulfstream Park. The kickoff leg of the Rainbow Pick 6 is an approximate post of 2:38 Eastern. Good luck.